I'm sharing a video today that I think is going to blow your mind. If you want to get more out of your inks, we're using color theory in an interesting way. I'm going to show you how to create rich, deep colors and muted tones using the inks you have on hand. I'm also trying a new style of YouTube video. The videos are minimally edited because I want you to see crafting at its real pace, at least for me. And I hope some of you can find value in that. If you want to watch the video at a faster speed, you can definitely do that. And I've put timestamps in my YouTube description for the important parts of the video. Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I have an exciting video for you. I wanted to show you ways that you can get new and exciting colors from your ink pads by using color theory. This helps if you don't have a lot of inks available for you and you have a rainbow color of inks. That's all you need. So I know in the card making community, we are pretty familiar with color theory. In general, there's a lot of mixing of analogous colors and triadic colors in order to get a rainbow. But what I don't see a lot of is the use of complementary colors. And that's for good reason, because a lot of the time, complementary colors, when mixed in inks, can become very muddy, right? The color becomes dark and kind of brownish, right? And a lot of the times that's not what we want on our cards. But today I wanted to show you some ways that you can use complementary colors, yes, to get more muted and interesting color palettes or more interesting darker colors. So today I'm going to be using some supplies from Pink Fresh. This is the Choose Hope die set, the Choose Hope stamp set, and the Choose Hope stencils. And I'm going to be showing you how you can use all of these to get interesting colors on your cards, right? So first, let's quickly go over color theory, right? So I have a piece of paper here, and I'm just going to remind you of what the color wheel looks like, right? We all know the color wheel. So you can have two types of color wheels. There's my red. I think I'm going to do this off camera and get back to you. What I'm going to do, I'm going to do all of them. So we have our red, and I'm going to do the rest of colors and come back to you. Okay, so I have my red, my yellow, and my blue. And I have my cyan. I mean, this is not true blue. This is kind of more cyan. But I have my cyan, my magenta, and my yellow. So you know you have two color wheels that consist of these major colors, right? And so if I mix, let's go with magenta and yellow. I'm just going to use the excess on my brush. If I mix magenta and yellow, I'll get a kind of orangey color. Let me get some more yellow. Right, there we go. I'll get more of an orange, right? Let me add a little more pink. Right, so this seems like it needs more pink. right? So I'll get more of an orangey color, right? So if I mix my cyan and my yellow, I'll get more of a green, right? And if I mix my cyan and my magenta, so let's see that one. I'll get more of this purple color, right? That is beautiful. We normally do this rainbow effect often on our cards. So let's try the red, blue, yellow. So my blue is not a true blue. As I said before, it's a cyan. It's more of a cyan, but we're going to work with it and see what we get for our colors. So my camera cut off. So I have blended I have blended both of my color wheels. So this is the magenta, yellow, cyan, and this is the red, blue, yellow. And these are the colors that I got from mixing. So magenta and yellow gave me orange, yellow and cyan gave me green, and cyan and magenta gave me purple. And over here, red and green, no, red and yellow gave me orange, yellow and blue gave me green, and red and blue gave me purple. Okie dokie. So in card making, we can use different parts of the color wheel. So we use analogous colors, which are the ones right beside each other. Magenta, orange, yellow, green, yellow, green, cyan, or magenta, purple, cyan, right? Red, orange, yellow, purple, blue, green. But we can also use colors that are triadic. So magenta, yellow, cyan, or orange, green, purple, so they form a kind of triangle. So those can be used as well. But what I don't see us use often in card making when we're mixing our inks is complementary colors. And there's a good reason for that. A big part of the reason is that complementary colors can become muddy. So when you mix both of them, so when you mix complementary colors, which are the colors across from each other, like orange and cyan or magenta and green, you can get a very muddy result. So it's almost like the color wants to become brown. And so I know that a lot of the times we don't really want to mix these kind of colors together. After experimenting a little, I have come to the realization that you can actually get some very interested and dimensional colors from using complementary colors together. So that's what I'm going to show you today, right? So first, I'm just going to take a couple complementary colors and just two and mix them. So let's try orange and blue. And then let's try red and green and purple and yellow. Let's do that. We said we're going to try red and green. All right, so let's put down the problem. Let's put down the red first. And then we'll put the green on top. And when I put the green on top of the red, I get this kind of warm tone green, which is interesting. There we go. And it does have a little kind of brown color, right? So this is red and green. Next, let's do, oh, should I try it with the green at the bottom? Let's try it with the green underneath and see what it does to the red. Okay, it makes the red look a little more whoop, orangey. Gives a little brown undertone, right? So it kind of mutes the color. It mutes the color and makes it look a little deeper, darker. Right, so these are both red and green. And just for reference, these are what the colors are like without being mixed. So here's a little green and here's a little red. So you can see that the colors become more muted. Interesting. It gives a more browny, it's a little muddy, but it becomes more muted. And I actually like this. I like what it did to the red with the green underneath, right? So that's interesting. All right. So let me try blue and orange. All right, so let's get blue, let's get orange. So, blue and orange. I'm using ripe persimmon and I'm using peacock feathers. Peacock feathers is the only blue I have. I know. I really need to expand my distress oxide collection. Yeah. So let's try blue and orange. So I'm going to lay the orange down first. I think my ink pads need some juice. Right? Lay the orange down first. And then I'm going to put the blue on top of it. All right. Look at that. So I do get a kind of brown, but I do get a more muted color. And I actually like that. Look at that. All right. Blue and orange. Okay. So those are actually colors across from each other, blue and orange. So they're complementary, right? Blue and orange. And I'm sure that if you have a wider range of inks, you can actually try different variations of blue. So for example, I have peacock feathers. This is not a true blue, but it's a kind of blue. And when you mix different types of colors, different hues, you'll get different results. So this is interesting, blue and orange. Should I see the blue under the orange? Let's do that. So let's put a light amount of blue. Wow, that wasn't good. Right, I'll put a lighter amount because orange is a lighter color. So, wow, my ink pad is like super dry. There we go. It also mutes the orange. Yeah, there's ink in it. Okay. Also mutes the orange. I like this together. Very nice. Right? It is super nice. I love this. Okay. So we have our blue and orange together, right? So we're using our, down here you see the complementary colors when they're mixed, what they look like. And they can really expand how you use your inks to create more deep muted colors. Very interesting. So I'm going to make a card using this technique, and I'm going to use the same ink, but to make it darker, I'll use its complementary color, and we'll see how that turns out. So let's do that. All right, let's get started. So I'll be using supplies from Pink Fresh Studios. I'm using this Choose Hope stamp set as well as the coordinating die and the Choose Hope stencils, right? So I'm going to just use some washi tape. Let's get that. All right, I'm going to use some washi tape. For this card, it's going to be pretty simple. I'm going to do the color without mixing first. So I'm lining up my panel with this edge. Just tape it down. So I'm going to do the color first without mixing. So I think I'm going to work with coral. Let's work with coral. So coral is like an orangey red. So I think based on my chart, it's like an orangey red. So it's here, right? So it's green, blue. So I can mix it with green or blue to get the darker color. So I'm going to use it with either blue or green, we'll see. So I think I'm going to use coral and I'm going to use either blue or green. So we can get the rest of the inks out of the way. Right. All right, so I have my stencils and I'm going to stencil before I stamp. Whoop! Wrong way. I didn't have to open it this way because it's already open at the top. So I have my stencils and the stencils are already labeled. I don't know if you can see it, but they're already labeled from 1 to 5 along here. And there are marks. Right, so they're labeled from 1 to 5. And you see the marks in the corner to allow you to line up with your panel. So that's pretty good. And I'm going to start with number 1. Let's put them in order. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so let's start with number 1. Number 1, I'm lining it up with my panel. My panel is a little short. My panel is a little short and I do not want that. So let's change our panel. All right, let's use this panel. So this panel is actually the size I want. All right, let's restart this. All right, let's bring it over a little. All right, perfect. Perfect. I'm going to be working with my stencil at the base. So I'm going to line it up with a 0 right here. Like that. Perfect. Line it up with the 0 and that line as well. Okay, and then I can tape it. Let me just make sure it's... What's happening? Why is my stencil moving? I like this washi tape because it's very low tack, but it holds everything. All right, so everything is stuck down, and I'm going to start with, these are the leaves. So I'm going to start with green. And remember, I'm just blending normally as we would blend, a quick and easy blend just to get some color on the paper, right? So I have my napkins and my wipes ready. And I'm just gently putting down some color. Right, not too crazy. Right? You can go back in. I have a smaller blending brush, the mini ones. And I'm going to just go back in to the base of each leaf, not too crazy, and just put a little more color down. In order to give a more dimensional look. And remember, we're not using our complementary colors as yet. We're just blending like we normally would. Okay, so I have that for my leaves. I am just going to take up my panel, and I'm actually going to wipe it off immediately. So I have my wipes here. So I like to wipe it onto a napkin because the napkin absorbs all of the stuff, right? So I have this napkin. Let's use this. So I have a napkin and I put it down on the napkin and then I wipe. And the napkin just absorbs everything else that would go through the back. Right. Oops. Everything else that would go through the back. So I like doing it that way. And I rub the back the other way around. Feel like everything didn't come off. I'm rubbing it again. All right. So remember, we have to clean our stencils. Right. So I have my green down, and then I'm gonna go with number 2. So the words are at the base here, and at the top I have that. So I'm going to line it up again with the 0 mark and with this. Perfect. And then I'm going to just tape. Now, when we're doing it this way, I'm just using ink layering to get a darker color. Because we know if we put the same color on top of itself multiple times, we are going to get a darker color as the result. So that's all I'm doing here. Just going to use a little more green and And maybe I should use my detail blending brush. I mean, yeah, I think maybe that would make more sense. I'll get into all the little spaces in an easier way. So I'm just adding another layer of color through the stencil, right? So there we go. And this blending brush can, because it's so small, it can get into all of the little teeny areas, right? That the bigger brush would not get into as easily. And I think if you use the bigger brush for these really small areas, you'll need to use a lot more ink. So blending brush, mini blending brush for the win. Right, so I've done that. I'm going to take up the excess ink with my brush. Okay, and then remove my stencil again. And I'm going to clean it immediately, guys. I know this can be kind of stressful or tedious when you are actually creating. But what you could do if you don't want to actually clean it immediately, you can get a basin or something with water and just drop your stencil right after use into that basin until you're completed, until you finished creating, and then you don't have to worry about it. But because I am going to reuse my stencil, I just want to clean it first. Clean it as I go along. All right, this looks good. All right. So we also have some ink down here along the edge of my paper, and I want to clean that as well. So next, I am going to move on to 3. I just made a note of where the words are on the stencil just to make sure I orient it the correct way every time we line it up. Right, so I was saying you can put your stencils in a basin with water while you stencil just to make sure that you can go back to it later to clean. All right, so now I'm going to put on my coral. We started the flowers, so it's literally a very quick. Oh, I have a different brush for my coral. So a very quick and light tap off some of my ink. I'm gonna just do a light layer. Nothing crazy. Great, that was quick. This blending brush is actually bigger. This is a Simon Says Stamp large blending brush, and it's actually bigger than the blending brushes I got from Amazon. And you see how fast that was in terms of blending. So it's perfect. Like, it's the perfect size for blending larger images. So I like it a lot. Right, so I'm going to lift this up and I'm going to clean it. I don't know. Can I get any more uses out of this wipe? Maybe. Need to clean it. Perfect. Nice and clean. And we're going to use coral again. We know that, right? All right. So I'm just going to, these florals are so good. I think Pinkfish has some of the prettiest florals. I love the layering stencils that they have with their florals. Really, really helpful. I feel like my brush is super dry. Anyway, we have that. That's done already. You see, this large blending brush is really, really worth it. I barely put any effort into doing that a while ago. Right. I think what would be more cost effective and better for the environment for sure is using a spray bottle and a cloth. So I'm going to get that. I'm going to get a microfiber cloth and a spray bottle, and I'm going to use that to clean my stencils. Should I go get that now? I'm gonna go get it now. Right. Because as you can see, the whites can get gunky really fast. So let me get a microfiber towel and a spray bottle. All right. So next we have this little baby. And as I said, I'm just layering the same colors. And then we're gonna move on to the fun. But I really wanted to do this because I wanted us to be able to compare the look, of the more muted one versus this one. Right? Yeah, that's done. I need a stick and stamp. Like, this is a lot. I have a lot of things I'm going to purchase soon. All right, maybe take this off. All right, let me go get my microfiber towel. Maybe what I should do is lay it down like this. Spray on it, spray some water, and then use the other side of the towel and just get rid of the ink. That works too. Okay. That works. So this is a faster and more environmentally friendly way instead of using wipe after wipe. Okay. Yeah, so that's good. All right. Let me get my towel out of the way and this stencil. Oh, so that was stencil 5. So I've completed the stenciling. So I'm going to now move into stamping. This is a stamp set, beautiful line florals. So I'm going to use my stamping block and just stamp the floral to outline what I've stenciled. These are sticky. Right. All right, so let me get my stamping block. I have some stamps on it already. Let me get those off. All right. So first I'm going to orient the stamp how I want it to be. And I think This is the way it looks like it's upside down. So I line it up with the image, and then I'm going to attach it to the block. Perfect. I'm going to use VersaFine ink in Onyx Black. And I'm just going to ink my stamp up. I have to have wipes very close to me when I'm doing this because I don't want this black ink to go anywhere else, right? Okay, so I'm going to ink up my stamp. I know nowadays stamping like this kind of image with a block is risky, but I don't have a stamping platform. I'll get one eventually, but I don't have one right now. So I am just using what I have, which is this. You know what? I'm going to go this way because this is taking a very long time, right? All right. So then I'm going to just press down. I don't even remember how it was. This looks like it. And the good thing about these florals is that, so we're pressing, I like to use my same napkin or something that will move around and just rub it. Right. So I was saying the good thing about these florals is that they're kind of whimsical, and the way they're designed, there's a little room for error in how you stamp it. Let us spray. Okay, that's good enough, right? Yeah, that's perfect. So let me clean my stamp. For me now with the stamp thing, to be honest, I wash my stamps after every clean. So after every use, I wash my stamps. So I'm using a wipe on this stamp, but to be honest, I wash my stamps or like brush them under running water. I don't know if that's a bad thing, but that's what I do to clean my stamps. I find using a wipe doesn't work for me, so that is what I choose to do. Okay, so we've stamped our panel and it's super pretty. I'm making sure I don't have any ink on my hands because that would be a disaster. Because I'll be using this whole panel as is. Right, so here it is, so pretty. So pretty, right? It's good. All right, so this is the panel that we have for the first color, right? So now I'm going to use color theory to get a darker coral and a darker green. So I have a panel here. Let's see, we're going to use the same set. We're going to use the same set, same paper, and we're going to do some inking. This one I'm going to cut out, so I'm just going to ink it in the center. And tape both sides to secure. Now I'm going to start with my stencils again. Let me get this VersaFine out of the way. Start with my stencils again from 1 to 5. So this is 1. So we're going to have 1, and this time I'm just going to use the guides that are on the paper and align it. So I'm going to align to the left, and that is that. All right, we are ready. So I said I'm going to use coral blue green, right? Because as we remember, coral is a red orange. So I'm going to be using blue or green in order to get my colors. So I think I'm going to use, for the green, we're going to use the opposite color, which is coral, right? Which is an orangey red, kind of red, right? So you have red opposite green. So I'm using those two together. I want to get a darker green. So the color that I want to get, I'm going to put it on top, right? Any color that I want to make darker, that's the color I'm going to put on top. First, I'm going to put my coral down, right? I'm going to put a very light amount, and I'm going to try to do it as evenly as possible because I don't want too much splotchiness because I'm putting another color on top of it. And so it can be a very light corally color that you put under the green. Right, so I'm just making sure it's dispersed everywhere. See? Very nice. And depending on how dark you want the green to go, you can add more coral, right? Just remember, the more you use, the more ink you use, the more ink you'll have to use to cover the color completely. So now I'm going to go in with my green, and we're going to realize that the green is going to get much darker, right? So we have to concentrate the green color in order to cover as much of the coral as possible. Oops, see, I used a little too much there. But we keep going, right? So we're concentrating the green. This takes a lot more energy to blend as well because you're trying to cover the color underneath to get a different shade. And if I show you, if we compare the green I'm getting now to the green that I got before on the first layer, you definitely see the difference, right? So this is giving a more olive tone, muted green, which I love. So we're gonna keep going. And cover all the spaces, right? So this is my red under my green. And the thing is, when in the center, sometimes you can have the red shine through. Right. I think I'm not inking up enough. That was much easier. Yeah. So ink up as much as possible. Oh, I forgot to do something. So in between, we should buff off the ink. So after using the coral, we should have buffed off the excess coral ink so it doesn't mix with our green brush. Okay, So I'm adding down my green and I'm loving it, loving what I'm getting. Perfect. I don't think I'm going to add any more at the moment. So I got a nice, beautiful color green. I feel like I need a little more. And I'm okay with a little of the coral peeking through. It looks really interesting. Okay. Right, so that is the green I got. And you can tell the difference, right? Perfect. So let me just quickly clean up. So even though I'm wiping my stencils now, I'm definitely going to wash them as well. That's just me, right? So we have that, and I'm going to align it again. I'm going to put down the coral again so that I get a deeper color using my mini blending tool. Perfect. And just put in the coral, and you don't have to be too specific, right? We're just making sure that we have all our coral done. Just working it into those little spaces. Right, so, and it looks like I can even put it on top of the green. Oh my gosh, guys, I keep forgetting to buff off my ink. Jesus. All right, so let's just buff it off now. And I'm going to be using a dry cloth, right? Use a dry cloth to just buff off the excess ink. Okay, that works. Perfect. So I buffed off the excess ink. I'm going back in with my coral. So now, buff, buff, buff. And now I can go in with my green on top. There we go. So you can see from this technique that it takes a lot more time in terms of your blending because you're mixing two colors, right? And in general, we know blending takes a little time, right? So you just have to prepare your mind for this, but it's really relaxing. It's really relaxing to do. So I find it really relaxing. So I think for some persons, you'll enjoy it. And getting these kind of muted, interesting colors is another plus. So it's worth it in the end, I think. I love the result. I was making a few before. I'm going to show you at the end of the video. I did another colorway and I really love how it turned out. So I think it's worth it. Yeah, so I'm just using the excess ink to go into every little crevice I can and get rid of the red color. So that's it for green. Ooh, so good. So good. I love that. So we have like this more, there's some areas of kind of a brown, and you see where it doesn't blend completely. I'll show you up close. There are some areas that look more brown, but where it blends really well, you get this darker hunter kind of green, which is really nice. Cleaning my stencil. So only 2 more to go. Okay, so I've aligned this and I'm going to be using coral and blue. Let's try that. So back to our chart. So we have our reddish orange, which is coral, so we can use blue green. So I'm going to use blue for the coral to mute it to see what it turns out to be. I've never done this one, so let's see. All right, so I'm going to put down my peacock feathers first. Oh, I didn't show you up close. I'll show you at the end. I'm going to put my peacock feathers first, and we're going to try and do a light, even tone. My light, even tone is gone out the window. What the heck was that? All right. So we have a light, even tone, except for here. Perfect. So we have our blue down, and now we're going to put our coral on top. Wow, I'm ready. This is going to be fun. Let's buff off the excess ink with our cloth. Okay. And then let's get our coral down. I'm excited. How is this going to look? All right, let's go. Interesting. So you see it mutes the color really nicely. Wow, look at that. I'm gonna add a little more coral. I want it to be darker. That's pretty. Put a little more over here. Then we're gonna go here. Okay, so I'm going to just add a little more coral, especially to the middle one. I'm just going to start taping 2 sides because, yeah, it's taking a while. Okay, I'm going to use, still going to use peacock feathers on top, so that I still get a darker color. Like I don't need to put too much ink because I want the dimension to be less homogeneous. So I'm putting coral. So now putting coral on top of the peacock feathers that I just laid down. For this part, you need a little more ink. because we don't want the blue to show. Okay. I'll work the ink in a little more. Oops. That's so pretty. Get my wipe. Perfect. And the final stencil is this one, number 5. So I'll just line it up. And for this stencil, I'm just going to use Abandoned Coral as is. It's not very clear, but it's good. So now I'm going to stamp my panel with some black VersaFine ink. I'm going to stamp the outline of the flower. For all the time I have been card making, this is the black ink I have used. I think it's such a good ink. And I've only had the cube. I've never had the full size, although I should probably get the full size. Okay, so seems this is the way. Pardon my head, I have to align everything. This is really off center, but we're gonna have to work with it. I'm going to cut out my shape using the die that comes with the set. Getting my plates for my Gemini and going to run it through my machine once. I'm using these plates, have been a lifesaver. Oops, that's a lot of pressure. I think it's time to turn this plate. I haven't been using it for long though, but it's really torn up. I mean, it's not perfect at all. So I cut all those pieces. The dies I used are from Ellen Hudson. I cut a circle as well as a gold frame. So I'm going to put those back. Okay, so I'm going to assemble. I have a vellum piece that I cut as well as a backing, just to do an offset. I feel like maybe I want to do foam squares between the vellum and the image. So I'm using that Gemini sandwich for a while, which is a double-sided cutting plate, maybe a month. Double-sided cutting plate with the clear plates, two double-sided cutting plates and a clear plate, and it's been very good. I watched one Jennifer McGuire video and now I'm an expert. All right, perfect. And I'm going to do a little ink blending on this. The same mix of blue under orange. Very light. I feel like I put a little too much, but we'll work with it. Yeah, I feel like I put a little too much. Let me wipe off my mat. Okay, time to assemble. So I use the die from Spellbinders. I'll link it down below to cut this cover plate, and I have two pieces of glitter card. So I'm going to glue the glitter card to the back of this. I'm literally putting glue everywhere. I cannot be bothered. This glitter card is like a peachy orange. I think it's so pretty. So pretty. I'm gonna just put right here. Oops. Perfect. And I'm just gonna do the excess. Oops. So we let that dry. Over here. While it dries, I'm gonna have to cut off that edge. I'll start putting everything together. So I want the flower to kind of float through the frame like this. Right, like that. So I'll put a little glue right here. Just a tiny bit. Yeah. Tiny bit. Right there. And then I'll put a tiny bit on the back. Right here. About this way. I think that's nice. Okay, let's do that. So let's do this. So I'm going to use foam tape to prop up. Let me just use my squares and prop up everything. Oops, I have not stamped. I should have stamped before I did this. Oh my god. Can we take them off? Yes, we can. All right. I'm just going to stamp a greeting. I'm hoping this works. Father in heaven, please let this stamp. Oh, that's bad. That's bad. Mm, it dried a bit too much. I'm just going to go over it. I've attached a double-sided tape to the back and I'm just removing the release paper. Does anybody else stand while they craft? After sitting for a while, I feel my leg starts to hurt. So I did a little cleaning up. Yeah, it was too messy. And I'm just adding the finishing touches to this card. Just adding a little glue to my embellishment. Someone needs to tell me in the comments how to re-stick a wax tool. I have no idea how to do it. So I have tape. I literally have tape on the top of mine. But I want to re-stick it. So if anyone knows, let me know below. So I'm just putting these little embellies on. I'm going to slide this one a little under the leaf. Yeah, I like when they're semi-hidden. That's really cute. Oops. Hmm. Maybe here. Is it? Right. Good. Okay, we're finally done. So let me show you the finished cards. I'm going to bring it in a little closer so you can see. Right? So here's one. Yeah. So this is the muted coral. And let's just compare it to the coral that's not muted. Both very nice. I'm partial to this one. It has so much depth, but both are very pretty. So there are those two together. And as I said, I did another colorway. So I did blue. This is so pretty. This was blue and red. So blue with red underneath. I love that. The embossing folder I use for this is from Simon Says Stamp. And I love this texture. And this one, this is the blue without any complementary color underneath. So here's the comparison. Both very pretty. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this helps you in some way or gives you some ideas that can help you to stretch your inks and find new and interesting colors. The link to my blog with all the supplies I used is below in the description. If you stay till the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. I'll see you next time.